Australia is a unique country, a hospitable and incredibly beautiful land that contains true treasures, including rare natural phenomena, as well as amazing flora and fauna. The natural attractions of Australia amaze with their beauty. The untouched nature here contrasts with the most modern cities. Scuba diving and golf enthusiasts flock here from all over the world, and adventure lovers follow the roots of local pioneers again and again. In short, these lands are a real treasure for tourists from all over the world. Don't know what to see in Australia? Let's check out 19 best places to visit in Australia. Number 19. Great Barrier Reef. Along the coast of Australia in the northwest stretches the Great Barrier Reef, which is a huge ridge of coral reefs and islands. The Great Reef, or Reef National Park, listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, is truly enormous. Its area is about 10% of the area of all coral reefs on the planet. Modern research shows that the first reefs began to form here about 18 million years ago. During this time, the old reefs were destroyed, and in their place, new ones grew. Today, only a small part of the corals is visible on the surface of the sea, and only scuba diving will allow you to contemplate the most complete and picturesque picture. That is why for diving enthusiasts today, there is no question of what to see in Australia. The underwater world of the reef is so beautiful that it resembles some kind of fairy tale illustration. Just imagine how. Against the backdrop of huge coral gardens and numerous colorful plants, large schools of incredibly bright, equally colorful fish swim gracefully. This is truly one of the most beautiful places on Earth. Number 18. Lake Hillier. When wondering what to visit in Australia, be sure to include an attraction like Lake Hillier in your travel plan. The picturesque lake, whose waters have an unusual pink color, is located on Middle Island, covered with dense eucalyptus forests. If you look at this island from a bird's eye view, then against the backdrop of the rich greenery of the eucalyptus forests, there will be a small bright spot. This is the pink Lake Hillier. The spectacular frame of sand and salt that is located along its shores gives the lake even more expressiveness. Lake Hillier gained the status of an Australian landmark precisely because of its originality. Travelers from all over the world come to the shores of this unique lake to see for themselves that the water is truly pink. Number 17. Blue Mountains. Those who like to contemplate natural landscapes untouched by civilization will definitely find something to see in Australia, because on its territory there is a unique natural wonder, the Blue Mountains National Park. This area got its name for a reason. A huge number of eucalyptus forests growing on the mountain range constantly release essential oil vapors into the air. The rays of the sun, refracted in billions of tiny droplets of oil, form a bluish haze, creating an atmosphere of mysterious, fabulousness. In the common understanding, the Blue Mountains are not mountains. In fact, it is a set of mountain plateaus and cliffs, above which Mount Victoria rises majestically at a height of about 1,300 meters above sea level. Sandy plateaus, dissected by gorges and canyons, are interspersed with many crystal clear mountain rivers and streams, creating an amazingly beautiful landscape. It's no surprise that the national park has become one of Australia's most popular attractions. Number 16. Mount Uluru. If you are planning a trip, you will have no doubt what to visit in Australia because these lands are fraught with real wonders. The eighth wonder of the world, the sacred place, the Red Mountain. All these honors were awarded to Mount Uluru, also called Ayers Rock. This is one of the most recognizable natural attractions of Australia, one of the main symbols of the continent. During the day, its red-orange rock can change color. At dawn, the mountain has the lightest shade. With the sun rising at its zenith, it turns purple-red, then pink, and finally golden, and darkens in the evening. How was Uluru formed? Millions of years ago, the mountain range was more like an island. Gradually, the rocks along the edges were destroyed and settled, forming a rock. Now in the desert where Uluru is located, winds rush and heavy rains fall, creating deep cracks on the surface of the mountain. The fantastic red rock, reminiscent of a huge elephant, is not only unique in appearance, the age of the natural monument is also remarkable. The history of its existence is about 6 million years. This is confirmed by rock paintings that testify to the life of ancient people. Number 15. Opera House. The attractiveness of the green continent lies not only in the extraordinary nature of the continent An important role is also played by cities that have become centers of business and cultural life, where the oldest sites of Australia coexist with modern skyscrapers, green parks with busy avenues, historical museums with huge supermarkets. For example, the landscape of Sydney is uniquely recognizable among thousands of other cities thanks to its world-famous landmark, the building of the Opera House, one of the most famous in world architecture. This unique building was designed by a Danish architect named Bjørn Utzon. Having designed the original shape of the theater's roof, the Dane gave Sydney a symbol of the city, by which almost every inhabitant of the planet now recognizes the city. Many years after the construction of the famous building, the architect admitted that he was inspired to create the unique roof of the theater by the peel of an orange removed from the fruit in triangular segments. The only difference is the scale. The sloping roof vaults are covered with countless tiles, which, reflecting the sun's rays, create an unusual color scheme. The Opera House has always attracted the attention of tourists with the originality of its forms, and therefore this architectural creation has become an almost integral element of any excursion in Sydney. Number 14. Kangaroo Island. Perhaps everyone knows that since ancient times the kangaroo has been the true symbol of Australia. But not everyone knows that there is a whole island here dedicated to these amazing animals. It's called Kangaroo Island. On its territory, there is a huge park inhabited by rare species of ancient animals and relic plants. The island was inhabited by Aborigines several thousand years ago, after which they left this region. And all this time, the land remained completely isolated from the outside world, giving local animals the opportunity to live in complete peace and security. And only in 1802 did the European Flinders set foot on Kangaroo Island, who gave this land its name. In addition to animals, visitors to the park are attracted by interesting geological formations, the so-called remarkable rocks, huge boulders of the most unusual and bizarre shapes, located at a low altitude above sea level. Not far from remarkable rocks, there is another attraction of Australia, Admiral's Arch. This creation of nature is a cave inside a huge boulder, from the depths of which it is so interesting to contemplate the beauty of the sea tides. Number 13. Lake Gippsland. Australia is rich in amazing places that attract the attention of tourists from all over the world. Among them is Lake Gippsland, which is sometimes also called fire from the underworld during daylight hours. This lake is no different from any other body of water, but with the onset of darkness, real miracles begin to happen here. A mesmerizing bluish glow emanates from the watery depths of the lake. This phenomenon has a very real scientific explanation and has acquired the term bioluminescence. The fact is that the waters of the lake are inhabited by plants and organisms endowed with bioluminescent abilities. It is this property that allows all living things in a reservoir to emit a kind of light that we see in the dark. In general, such light is constantly emitted, but only with the onset of darkness, when the sun completely disappears behind the horizon. Can we observe a real extravaganza of bluish lights along the shores of the lake ... in addition to the amazing views that open up to your eyes at night? During the day, you can also enjoy the extraordinary beauty of the landscape. The lake is surrounded along its entire perimeter by cliffs and fern forests. Number 12. Kings Canyon. Located in the red center of Australia, Kings Canyon was once sacred land to local Aboriginal people. Today, it has acquired the status of an Australian landmark due to its unique appearance and peculiar natural beauty. Formed from sandstone, the sheer walls of the canyon, reaching 200 meters in height, were formed over millions of years, acquiring unusual shapes under the influence of wind erosion. Inside the canyon, dense thickets of ferns and cycads, palm forests grow. Hundreds of species of animals find shelter, all this thanks to the canyon walls, which for the local flora and fauna play the role of protection from the desert drought that reigns outside the canyon. Number 11. Tasmania Island. To the south of the mainland is another unique attraction of Australia, the island of Tasmania, famous throughout the world for its uniquely beautiful tropical forests. The nature of the origin of the island is amazing. The continent of Gondwana, which existed on Earth several 100 million years ago, united the lands of the future Australia, Africa, South America, and Antarctica. As a result of the movement of the Earth's plates, a single continent gradually broke up into many parts, forming several separate continents that have preserved this appearance to this day. Lovers of tropical beauty will definitely find something to see in Australia because the island of Tasmania is a real gift of nature, full of lush vegetation. Just imagine majestic giant trees, mainly eucalyptus and ancient beech, have grown so densely that it is impossible to get between them. Everything around is overgrown with thick greenery. The undergrowth is complemented by a dense carpet of ferns and thick mosses, and vines hang between the trees. These areas are home to a variety of fauna: the famous Tasmanian devil, red wallaby, marsupial wolf, and Tasmanian bettong. The entire valley abounds with lakes, streams, and mountain rivers. Such a striking and breathtaking sight will undoubtedly be appreciated by a true traveler. Number 10. Fraser Island. The world of the green continent is rich and diverse, and Fraser Island, another interesting attraction of Australia, is a bright spot on the map of the mainland. The world's largest sand island consists entirely of sand, which has been deposited by sea currents and blown by winds for thousands of years, forming another amazing creation of nature: sand dunes. These are real mountains of snow-white sand, reaching a height of 240 to 50 meters. An amazing feature of the sandy island is that on its lands, washed on all sides by the salty waters of the ocean, there are more than 100 freshwater lakes. How can there be so many freshwater lakes on an island that is not fed by rivers or glaciers? It's all about precipitation and groundwater, which constantly replenish reservoirs, preventing them from drying out. The panoramas of these lakes are extremely beautiful. The purest waters are framed by a border of snow-white sand, and all this is surrounded by wild forests. Among the most picturesque bodies of water is Lake Mackenzie, located at an altitude of 100 meters above the sea, and the largest of them is Lake Birmingham, whose area reaches 200 hectares. In general, the climate of Fraser Island is milder than that of the rest of the mainland due to the large amount of moisture in the air and soil. Number 9. Stone Wave Rock. An amazingly beautiful landmark of Australia in the form of an unusually shaped rock formation is located in the west of the continent. This is the Stone Wave Rock, the name of which comes from its shape outwardly. This miracle of nature looks as if a huge sea wave had broken up right in the middle of the land. Hundreds of thousands of tourists come to see this stone sculpture every year. The visible part of the wave rising above the ground is about 15 meters in height and more than 100 meters in length. For many centuries, this creation of nature played a big role in the culture of the local population. It was once believed that it was in the place where this wave was formed that the forces of spirits and nature accumulated and intertwined. Australians treat this statue with special reverence to this day, making considerable efforts to preserve the beauty of the natural monument. For this purpose, back in the 50s of the last century, a reinforcing dam was built to protect the stone wave from natural erosion. Number 8. 12 Apostles Rocks. One of Australia's most famous and recognizable landmarks is the 12 Apostles group of rocks, which have become a symbol of the Great Ocean Road, stretching at a breathtaking height above the coast. It is the 12 Apostles that are often depicted on numerous tourist brochures, and every year hundreds of thousands of interested tourists visit these places to observe the peculiar beauty of the rocks and their ability to change their color throughout the day. The most picturesque panorama opens up in the morning and evening when muted sunlight gives the landscape mystery and rich colors. These rock formations are tens of millions of years old. Year after year, waves and wind destroyed the soft limestone, forming cavities in the cliffs, and the resulting arches collapsed over time, forming cliffs up to 45 meters high. Number 7. Kuranda. In which corner of Australia can you most fully learn about the life of the indigenous people of the green continent? What to visit in Australia to get acquainted with their culture, lifestyle, and characteristic features of their mentality? Perhaps the best place for this is the small hilly town of Kuranda in northern Queensland. It is so small that you can get around it on foot in a matter of minutes. From edge to edge of the town, the distance is only 1 kilometer, but there is definitely something to see there. Number 6. Queen Victoria House. When exploring the places of interest in Sydney, you can start with the most emblematic monuments, such as Queen Victoria's House, rising in the middle of the city's business district. The majestic building was born in 1898 in honor of the 60th anniversary of the Queen's reign on the site of the former city market, which existed here since the beginning of the 19th century. Today, this place is an impressive shopping center housing various fashion boutiques, cafeterias, jewelry stores, and more. Recognizable elements of the building are exquisite stained glass windows, a mosaic floor, a characteristic staircase, one of the 10 most beautiful staircases in the world, as well as an interior made in the traditional Gothic style. Right in front of the entrance to the house stands a majestic monument dedicated to the Queen, and a special reason for admiration is the Great Australian Clock, demonstrating the history of the country in pictures. Number 5. Harbour Bridge. Perhaps the Sydney Harbour Bridge, the largest arch bridge in the world, built of steel, deserves to be included in the top 5 attractions of Australia. Locals often call it a hangar due to the similarity of the design with this item. The grand opening of the bridge took place in 1932, although construction was planned in the mid-19th century. All previous 25 bridge designs were rejected, and only the design of the London architect Ralph Freeman won, and construction began in 1926. The Harbour Bridge spans Port Jackson Bay, connecting the North Shore and downtown. The bridge can be used by both pedestrians and cyclists, as well as cars. There are special roads for everyone. The bridge is 1,150 meters long and 134 meters high, and anyone can climb to its highest point to explore the beautiful city panoramas. Number 4. Kakadu National Park. Kakadu Park will certainly appeal to those who love ecotourism, natural attractions, and are interested in archaeology and history. This is a picturesque place on the continent where you can see wildlife in all its beauty and diversity. It is a plateau surrounded by rocks, where there are rainforests, savannas, rivers, and waterfalls. Each of these objects is saturated with abundant vegetation. The flora is represented by 1,600 plant species. The fauna of the park is no less rich. Here you can find traditional marsupials, more than 100 species of reptiles, about 300 species of birds, which is a third of all birds inhabiting Australia. The park pays special attention to river tourism. Water safaris are organized, and trips to some waterfalls are carried out. The reserve is managed by the Aboriginal community. They conduct educational excursions here demonstrating local customs and some original products. Number 3. Bondi Beach. Sometimes it's enough to download a photo of an Australian landmark to appreciate its beauty and aesthetic appeal. The 6-kilometer Bondi Beach, just outside Sydney's city centre, is a stretch of white sand, clear turquoise water, and incredible surfing waves. There is also a string of fashionable cafes and bars, shops and cozy hotels, as well as numerous festivals, competitions, and holidays. However, this place is free from pretentiousness and worldly glamour. Here you can simply laze on the sand, admiring the magnificent scenery, views of the cliffs, waves, and the coast with its walking path connecting Bondi to several other beaches. Number 2. Great Ocean Road. If Western Australia, with its dry and sunny climate, is famous for its wine regions, bizarre rock formations, sand dunes, and ancient eucalyptus trees, then the Great Ocean Road can rightly be called the most important attraction of Southern Australia. It stretches across the entire state of Victoria for hundreds of kilometers along the coast of the Indian Ocean and connects Melbourne and Adelaide. But the main feature of this path is the excellent views of the coast, its nature, flora, and fauna, which open from a wide variety of angles along the winding ribbon of the road. Basically, the road leads along the ocean, but sometimes it dives deep into the mainland, passing through vineyards and fantastic rainforests, flashing along the steep foothills of cliffs, allowing you to admire grottoes, caves, and limestone columns. This amazing path was built in 1932 with the aim of developing tourism. Number 1. Cape Byron. In order to comprehend all the beauty and diversity of Australian nature, you can go around the Australian islands to the east of the mainland and explore the sights of Oceania, see coral reefs, fantastically shaped rocks, colored lakes, and mountains with eucalyptus forests. Or you can, without leaving land, go to Cape Byron, the easternmost tip of the mainland. This is a unique place, which, despite the developed infrastructure, retains its wild and pristine appearance and amazes with its grandeur, picturesque, and diverse nature. The Cape is named after the poet John Byron, a famous adventurer who loved to embark on various adventures. One of the prominent attractions of the Cape is the Snow White Lighthouse built in 1901, where there is an observation deck. And the town of Byron Bay, comfortably located in this region, is a popular tourist resort with excellent opportunities for water sports. And no matter where you find yourself on the green continent, you will undoubtedly receive a warm welcome from the local population. And the nature of Australia will open the gates to the wonderful world of tropical forests, crystal clear lakes, untouched lands, far from our usual everyday life and the bustle of modern civilizations.